dedicated for the refuah shelema of the young child Abraham Ilan Rafael ben Elisheva Ilanit Gamliel ben Haya and Eleni Orna Bathen Hannah. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu give them a refuah shelema among the Holim of Am Israel. Amen. Today's Gemara discusses a topic that we usually talk about it around Rosh Hashanah, and is the topic of Nedarim, the topic of making vows and promises. So we know the pasuk that says, Mosa sefatecha tishmor be'asita. The pasuk writes that whatever the person commits themselves to do, it should be executed, should be delivered. Our Hachamim gave us an halachic permission that when certain criteria is being made, the person can do hatarat nedarim. Hatarat nedarim literally means what? The nullification of a vow or a promises. Obviously, according to our tradition, the Jewish world does hatarat nedarim before Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur, and we go even further to do it 40 days before the days of Rosh Hashanah, and different communities have different traditions. In America, the Syrian tradition does it on the Mosai Shabbat, always on the Mosai Shabbat Kodesh. Different places they do it on the night of the 40th. Other communities do it on the day of the 40th day. But bottom line, they all do it. And the reason why there is this added Hatarat Nedarim 40 days before Rosh Hashanah, the answer is based on the writings of the Zohar Kadosh, that a person who makes a promise and that promise is not kept, their prayers are in suspense for 40 days, which is fascinating because yesterday morning, for those that were here, we were discussing in a very limited manner, the introduction to yesterday's Zohar Kadosh that talks about how a person that utilizes a vocabulary that has profanity, nibulpe, curses, etc., also the prayers don't achieve much. Our rabbis tell us that a person that makes promises or vows and the promises are not being kept, their prayers are put on hold for 40 days. For that is the reason why we do the Atarat Nedarim 40 days before Rosh Hashanah, and according to some opinions, also 40 days before Yom Kippur. So this way, imagine yourself, a person prays Rosh Hashanah, a person prays Yom Kippur, and then the person asks, I don't understand. I pray, went to voicemail. What happened to the response? So the Shamayim sends a reply to the person, customer service says, the reason why you did not qualify for a reply, because your prayers are on suspense. Now, how do you qualify to have prayers? By suspending file, by making promises, commitment, and they not being kept. That's why in America, sometimes people say, I promise you. Never say that. Sometimes people say, I swear to God. Yani, they swear to God. Says, you just did an avon. Loti says, Shem Eloshech Halashav. You uttering God's name in vain with a swear. God forbid. So we need to be careful. That's the message, opening statement of the Gemara of today. That's why in the Jewish vocabulary, besides saying Baruch Hashem, what people say, Beli neder. Beli neder means without promise. Or some people say Imerseh Hashem. Now, you may ask, if you say Beli neder, that technically cancels the promise? The answer is no. No. It all depends. If it's a money matters, it doesn't get canceled. What the belly, you like it? Okay. He likes my answer because sometimes you go to the Sefer and what they say, "Ba'ushem in the beli neder." So the person says, "Why are you sending me an invoice? You said beli neder." Good question. The answer is that the beli neder in the Aliyah to the Sefer Torah, the only thing it achieves is time. It buys you time. Because once you made it publicly, right, in front of the Sefer Torah, and having two witnesses, the rabbi and the Baal Koreh, or whoever makes the Mishaberach, and the Baal Koreh, and the Sefer Torah in front of you, is not even a promise, it's a vow. And a vow, no, more. Shevuah. I don't know what happens, but definitely there is an issue in the office if they don't send you a bill. That's for sure. But by the way, right, Hazako Baruch. I was about to bring that example. So I think that is imperative that whenever we make commitments, try to take care of them as soon as possible. The faster you pay it, the faster the beracha gets released. You know, sometimes people say, "I'll pay you once a year." That's not good. You should pay it within 30 days. You want an exemption? 6 months. Shalosh regalim. Payment plan is different. If you talk to me and you make a payment plan, you are a tzaddik. Because there is a payment plan, you came respectfully. I have a payment plan. You know me, I go, I donate, Baruch Hashem. Thank God. But I have a payment plan. It says every month, take from my credit card X amount. Beautiful. You have a payment plan, beautiful. But sometimes people linger and they don't pay, and they don't pay, and they don't pay. Besides that, it affects the cash flow of the synagogue, because at the end of the day, FP&L and the water bill and the insurance policy, they don't take a break. They don't care. Misha Berach, no Misha Berach, he paid, he doesn't pay. They bill us. And sometimes they bill us without mercy. Because we are waterfront, we are a non-profit, we have a lot of people that coming in, etc. But everybody does what they can, definitely will be great. But obviously, this class today is not about fundraising. Today, I'm not fundraising. Soon, I will. Be ready. There is a new catalog coming out any day. Magnificent. And I know you're waiting, and I will share it with you, and I will sit down, and I will give you a shiur on which item means. Excellent. So in certain synagogues, Matenat Yado comes with a minimum flat rate. Matenat Yado means I'm going to give what I'm able to afford. That's a catch-22. Because if you go up to the Sefer and you give me $5 for Matenat Yado, so you know what's happening, says the Kaf Haim? Not only that, no, you become Hazako Baruch, suddenly your beracha diminishes. That's what the Kaf Haim writes. Kaf Haim Moed Kol Hai says that before Rosh Hashanah, try to clear your account with the synagogue. But let's say that the synagogue says, "Sir, you need to renew your membership, or you want to buy seats for the holiday. Can we make a payment plan?" And suddenly the person says, "Things are very difficult for me now." You know what says the Kaf Haim happens? The Shamayim take that sentence, "Things are very difficult for me now." They put it on the search on your account. This fellow claims that things are difficult, but the things are not difficult. But he said things are difficult. Let us give him difficulty. God forbid. Scary. And that's the reason why I don't want to say what I can say on this topic. Because promises unkept, they don't go unnoticed in Shamayim. I don't want to go further because it's only 10:25 in the morning. But the consequences that come for not keeping promises are not simple. So let's do the best that we can. Don't promise. Don't promise. Doesn't matter for what. Sometimes you have to promise. If God forbid someone is involved in a certain type of behavior, or yes, behavior, that will be the proper word, that is not conducive to holiness. So then in that case, you may be able to use the strength of a promise or a vow to put the person on notice. But other than that, avoid making promises. I will try, I will do my best, Belinether, with God's help. That's it. That's it. At the end of the day, it's no coincidence that 3 days in a row, our menu of the day, I don't write the menu. What I do is I open the menu, and whatever is on the soup of the day, that's the menu of the day. So 3 days in a row, through the Gemara, through the Musar, through the Perashah, always it ended up talking about the topic of the power of the words to enhance our prayers or to block our prayers, to reject our prayers, to contaminate our prayers, or to make our prayers more meaningful. It's all a matter of how you use it. It's like money. You know, there is a pasuk that says, the money is not always a blessing. Money, many times, God forbid, can be the opposite of a blessing. Because if a person has money, and God forbid, uses this money for addictions, God forbid, or all types or any type of behavior which is not respectful or suitable or proper, so then that money, it did not bring beracha to the person. The pasuk actually writes, Osher Shamur Ra' Liv'alav. Sometimes the money, it goes crazy. You know, when the Super Bowl, not Super Bowl, Powerball, Mega, etc., right? More than once people ask me, Rabbi, did you buy a ticket? No, I didn't. Why not? It's too much money, too much headache, too much of a challenge. Not that I don't need money. You need money, I need money. You are a malach, so maybe you don't need. But the rest of us, which are humans, we need. But sometimes excessive could be dangerous in many areas. So bottom line from the Gemara of today is the idea of being careful with the promises and commitments that we make. Another topic that the Gemara brings down is the topic of modesty, the topic of seniut. Now, when we talk about seniut, there are many, not levels, but compartments of seniut. There is seniut in the relationship between husband and wife. That's one level. Seniut exists between the person and God. You know that there is seniut between a person and God. It's actually a pasuk that says, "Ve'asnei alechet im Elokecha." Within the ways of God, walk with modesty. What does it mean? I read this yesterday or 2 days ago. And I'm trying to remember if I read this at home or I read it here upstairs in the office. But the message was clear. When it comes to your godly relationship, keep it between you and Hashem. Don't tell people what you do privately. Let's say anybody in this room, maybe today, woke up at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and decided to pray, decided to learn, decided to do X, Y, Z. If you are able to do that, Hazaku Baruch, because that means that you started the day in a beautiful way. But guess what? If you want that action to truly have Siyata Dishmaya, to truly have heavenly blessing and assistance, keep it to yourself. You have to pick and choose. But don't just say it publicly. Today I did this, today I did that. Obviously, saying something can inspire someone, of course. But even what you're going to do it and how you're going to do it, you got to think. Why? Because the moment that we, how do I say this, expose, I don't want to say the word brag, because I don't think that a person brags, although some people do brag with the way they talk. But if you want to expose some of your spiritual elements in your connection with God, do it in a respectful, in a tactful way. And like David said, maybe to inspire someone, which is actually a pasuk based on the writings of Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech talks about the topic of kin'ah. Kin'ah in Hebrew means what? Jealousy, envy. So Shlomo HaMelech says, kin'at sofrim tarbe chokhmah. The jealousy of the sages will increase wisdom. Meaning to say that there is a concept of jealousy. We already know that jealousy is negative and detrimental for the life of the person. But let's say that somebody prays in a certain way or takes 5 minutes to do the Amidah, which is considered acceptable, good. Ideal probably depends who you ask. Okay, so let's say 5 minutes is a nice average. Less than 5 minutes, it's very challenging to say that you're able to concentrate and to say everything properly. But let's give people the benefit of the doubt. But there is somebody who takes 6 minutes, and now you say, you know what? I want to take 6.5 minutes. That is acceptable. If you should do it or not, I'm not sure. Try to put the real kavanah. Don't try to make it just a competition, because sometimes the competition may seem to be healthy in the beginning, but eventually can bring the person down worse than before. That could be sometimes a tactic of the Yetzer Hara. The other topic that the Gemara of today talks about is the modesty, the dress code of the Jewish women. And we know that the topic of seniut for ladies perhaps is much more challenging than to men. Let's be honest here. We live in the 21st century. We understand how the world works, and therefore the Gemara of today enhances and reinforces the holiness. The Pasuk writes that when there is holiness in the person, it attracts godliness. And if there is no holiness in the relationship, God forbid, godliness takes a step back. And I'm going to say this now publicly with pain, that acting and behaving or dressing in a way that is not modest, it does bring headaches. It brings headaches at many levels. If it's on the street, if it's on the gym, if it's on the circle, if it's on the synagogue, if it's in the building, believe me, I'm human like you are, and it does create challenges, not only to men, but even to the person themselves. Regretfully, in the I had 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 3 cases prompted by the non-seniut dress code. It's delicate. Huh? What can I tell you? 3 couples are getting divorced. 2 of them already did. Thank God, not from our synagogue, not far, but it's painful. And as a rabbi, I don't do only weddings. Sometimes the rabbis convene and they meet and they discuss halachic questions, halachic matters, how to help people, how to guide people. And then suddenly you hear these type of cases. And the common answer in these 3 cases was the lack of modesty in the dress code, going to the gyms, which we're not talking about the gym in your building, which is problematic enough. We're talking about the LA Fitness and all these places of Tum'ah, which are very dangerous spiritually, because from there, a lot of the challenges come up. The comments, the looks, and I don't have to expand on something that is obvious. So that's one of the things that the Gemara of today discusses, that how that can bring godliness, the presence of modesty, and the lack of it. There is a pasuk that says, I'm going to say this pasuk, that although the pasuk is discussed about a certain topic when the Jewish people go to war, but our Torah, it's like a multivitamin item, meaning to say, maybe it's written for a specific goal and purpose, but the Torah is multi-system. The pasuk says as follows, Be'aya mahanecha kadosh, your encampment will be holy. Velo yera'e becha ervat davar, I will not be seen upon you the nakedness. The nakedness, ervat means nakedness. Davar of the matter, beshab me'acharecha, and God takes a step back from you. So listen to this. The literal meaning of this verse is about modesty. Modesty. Seniut. So the Torah is telling us that the lack of modesty makes God feel uncomfortable. We understand that, right? Excellent. That is one peshat. Another one, the pasuk says, Ervat davar. When I say the word davar, what reminds you of? What word can be cloned using the word davar? Dibur or davar. The words. So you know what the pasuk is telling you? Velo yera'e becha ervat davar. It says when you talk naked, God leaves you. Let me ask you a question. What does it mean you talk naked? What if you're in the mikveh, like you go? Don't say yes or no. Okay, you go to the mikveh, you dress? I'm sorry. You're not dressed when you're in the mikveh. But that's not what the pasuk means. The pasuk says, don't use the speech without the dress code. Hazak. Foul language, vulgarity, no vulgari, that's a different brand. Vulgari, no, that's with a B, as capital B. Vulgarity with a V, like the other guy. Okay? Nonsense. I wish there is nonsense. Nonsense, clean, more acceptable than profanity or vulgarity. That's the Torah is telling us. Be'ayama hanecha kadosh. You have to keep your environment holy. How do I keep it holy? Food, we understand. Dress code, we understand. You know what the Pasuk says? The way you communicate, the way we talk. That's why we avoid getting angry. We avoid cursing people, God forbid. We avoid saying Lashon Hara. Obviously, we're not tzaddikim, but I'm telling you what we supposed to think like. And that's the meaning of the Pasuk. It says, you want to bring godliness, you want to bring Kedusha to your life, is a package. A package. Sometimes people say, I don't understand, God. I don't understand, Rabbi. I do this, I do this, I do this. Hazaku Baruch. Keep doing. But guess what? Maybe you're putting all your eggs in your baskets. Today saying the word eggs is an expensive investment. You know, I know the other day I heard in my building that somebody bought a couple of hens and roosters to have eggs available. True story. They have a farm somewhere in Davie, and that's what they're doing now. They're bringing eggs every day. Don't ask me how. Lo divra haTorah ella keneged yetzer hara. He's asking a very interesting question. If this is how the essence of godliness and holiness is developed in the Torah, in our Avodat Hashem, how could it be that there is a parasha that says, Ki teseh lamilchama al oyevecha, when you go to war, you're allowed to, from your captive, do one time the action. The short answer is, the Torah, parasha Ki tetzeh in Sefer Devarim, the Torah talks about against the Yetzer Hara. When the people are at war, by default, there is a switch. There is a switch in the mind. There is a switch in the brain. There are things that perhaps all of us that never were in an act of war can identify with. We don't understand. We don't understand. So that's what I'm saying. So even that one-time release of desperation, it comes with so many rules and regulations that the Torah gives you already the outcome of following that path. What was the outcome? Ben Soreru More. That the Gemara Daf Yomi learned a few weeks, not even a week ago, maybe a week and change. So bottom line, we all have our challenges. No one is immune. No one is immune. But definitely the Gemara is telling us you have a lot of good things in your life. Try to activate your Yirat Shamayim. Let's say a person, I read this concerning a person is walking on the street and suddenly there is an Isayon coming your way because the Yetzer Hara knows how to get you. He knows how to get me. Every day he comes. And I don't go too many places, you know me. I stick around. I don't walk around the circle for obvious spiritual reasons. I drive, but I'm a human, I have to drive. If I want to get to 95, I have to drive. If I want to get to a wedding, I have to drive. So sometimes the Yetzer Hara comes your way. So what are you supposed to do? Obviously, obeying the traffic signals and being normal, don't look. Turn your head and make a prayer. Because at that moment that we were strong enough to turn our head sideways and not to look, we achieved a tremendous amount of potential spiritual blessing and success. Why? Because the Yetzer Hara wants me to look. And suddenly you say, I'm not looking. That is an Et Ratzon. Our rabbis tell us that this is Et Ratzon. This is a moment of goodwill. Take advantage of that instant and don't pray for it to happen. Don't test me. What happened with David HaMelech? David HaMelech says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Libi halal bekirbi. David HaMelech was a mega tzaddik, obviously. Right, David? Talking about David HaMelech, not you. All right? Hazako Baruch. Okay? So David HaMelech says to the Almighty, Libi halal bekirbi. My heart is hollow. What's the meaning of hollow? It says that he was able to control the Yetzer Hara. And God tested him with the famous story of Batya. Famous story that although the Gemara writes, Kol haomer David HaMelech hata eno ela to'eh, even though the Talmud writes, whoever says that David HaMelech committed a sin with Batya, it's wrong. It's wrong based on technicality. But the way the whole Megillah was seen to the naked eye, there was something that sent the wrong message. And David HaMelech recognized his shortcomings. When Natan HaNavi, remember that chapter, when Natan HaNavi comes to scold David for this incident, what David HaMelech reaction was. Compare to Shaul HaMelech, when Shmuel came to Shaul and tells him, what is the noise that I hear? So Shaul started to give justifications. Why did he did that? Why he did not execute Agag? Why did he leave the animals of the Amalekim to be alive? So it took so many back and forth, until finally Shaul says, I listen to the people. David, 0. When Natan HaNavi told him, what does David says? Hatati. I have seen. I recognize that even though technically, the way the Zohar Kadosh writes, the Zohar Kadosh asks a very interesting question. What kind of name is Bathsheba? That was the wife of David. What kind of name is Bathsheba? So Bathsheba, if I say in Hebrew the word Bathsheba, means the one of 7. Could be 7 years old, 7 days old, child number 7. You know what the Zohar says? That Bathsheba was preset to marry David HaMelech from the week of the creation of the world. The shidduch was made already. That Bathsheba will marry David. The only question was, how? And you know the end of the story? What prompted this drama between David, Bathsheba, and company? Short answer. The war between David and Goliath. The famous confrontation between the giant, so to speak, of the Pelishtim, that if you look in the book of Shmuel, they reach a truce on that generation, that instead of waging a war, right, between nations and having casualties and burials and missing people and wounded soldiers, they made an agreement. They made a gentleman's agreement. Each side will bring out a warrior. Who wins between these two individuals? The other nation will become servants, will become slaves, so to speak, to the winning team. This was the famous feud between Goliath and Shaul. David HaMelech, David was the junior, steps up to the plate, and David finishes with Goliath. But what happened after David finished with Goliath? What happened the minute after? David with a slingshot throws it. The only part of the face or the body actually of Goliath that was exposed was like a tiny opening between the eyes. So the slingshot hits it there, and another miracle happens that Goliath was a huge fellow, and even his weapons and whatever he was wearing needed to have someone from the back to hold them for stability. So instead of the body falling backwards, which should have been the gravity, if I hit something from the front, it's going to fall backwards. So what was the miracle? Hashem made a miracle to David that the body fell to the feet of David. For what purpose? So David will not have to walk the length of the body of Goliath. This is how Kadosh Baruch Hu takes care of the Tzaddikim. Like Uber Eats. Your wife tells you, Isaac, tonight I like to eat shawarma. 5 years ago, you would have said, I have to get dressed. She needs to get dressed. And it's going to become a whole outing. Today, your wife wants to eat shawarma? No problem, sweetheart. From which restaurant? Right? You go to the app, you order the food gets delivered to your home. Can you imagine? Hashem alters gravity, so David will be delivering, Goliath will be delivered to the foot of David. But now David has a problem. He wants to finish up Goliath. David cannot lift the sword of Goliath. Monster, so to speak. So Goliath here by the name of, and he says to Uriah, listen to this, if you help me finishing Goliath, I let you take any Jewish girl you want. Who did Uriah took? Batsheva. He was a convert. Okay? He took Batsheva. And Shamayim, they said to David, you were so loose with your tongue that you tell a stranger, go take any Jewish girl you want, he's going to take the one earmark for you. Correct? No Pele. Pele was a soccer player. Don't mix. Alav Shalom. He's still alive? He passed away? Pele Ploim. Now you understand the behind the scenes. Even David HaMelech, he made L'Shem Shamayim. Go and take what I'm going to say to you. Shamayim says, how can you be so loose? Take any girl you want, we're going to give him yours. That's how the whole story of David and Batsheva started to develop. Now you understand? Don't follow the Hollywood script, because they're not telling you the emet. They showing to you whatever they want. But if you follow the book of Shmuel and look at the Mefarshim, you're going to see everything that I just told you. Powerful. Powerful. Okay. The Musar of today from Sha'arei Kedusha, which the main topic of this Sefer is how can a Yehudi increase their connection with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And I'm going to finish quickly. I do have a Spanish class soon, but I'm going to tell you in summary what he says. The Pasuk writes, whenever we return the Sefer Torah, the Pasuk says, Ki az tasliach et derachecha ve'az taskil. Says you will be successful in your ways, and then you will be successful in your intelligence, in your brain. Interesting enough, it says that the Pasuk uses the word as tasliach, as taskil. What's the meaning of the word as? Then. But actually, the Drasha goes not so much on the meaning of that Pasuk, but on the value of the word as. As numerical value is number 8, Aleph Zayin. So you know what the Pasuk says? As tasliyah. Success is in the world of business. So this Pasuk says, work 8 hours a day. As taskil. And learn 8 hours a day. And the remaining 8 hours, you eat, you sleep, bathroom, shower, run your errands, do whatever you need to do. But the Sha'arei Kedusha says that as long as the person continuously, day after day, morning and evenings, Erev Baboker, Boker Ba'erev, we have a continuous connection with the Torah learning. And that's why the Lacha brings it down in many places, the importance of learning after Mincha and Arvit, because we are able to connect the day and the night. And in the morning, as I said in yesterday's class, we connect the day, the night with the day. What does it mean? We slept through the night, Be'ezat Hashem, I hope everybody slept. We got up, we came to pray, some breakfast, we came to learn. David HaMelech says in the book of Tehillim, the Gemara explains, Yelechu mechail el hail. From one, you go to the other. From the learning, you go to, from the prayer, you go to learning. From the learning, you go to work. You finish working, what do? You come back to the synagogue. You come to pray, you come to learn. So at the end of the day, what do we have? A continuous cycle that may be repetitive in the name of the activity, but everybody understands and knows that who knows what the day may bring upon us. Lo teda ma yeled hayom. Nobody knows what HaKadosh Baruch Hu has in storage for us. But us, says the Sha'arei Kedusha, from our perspective, we know what my mission is. Come to pray, come to learn, do mitzvot, do chesed, go to work, take care of the family. It becomes a bundle of actions that HaKadosh Baruch Hu holds our hands throughout the day and obviously throughout the night. My dear friends, I wish everybody to have a beautiful day. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Hananiah ben Akashia Omer, רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא לזכות את ישראל לפיכך.